Okay, so I was kind of sitting down in my office and kind of wondering, what kind of content should I put on the channel? Because I want to make sure that there's different types of content that anybody could possibly enjoy. For the last couple of weeks, we have been heavily on the X-Men, the Age of Apocalypse event. And I kind of want to continue our coverage over the X-Men, but at the same time, still want to cover other heroes as well. And not just from Marvel or DC, but also other companies like IDW. But today's video is really more of us kind of beginning to dive into the cosmic side of Marvel Comics. And let me explain. You see, when I was growing up, I was not really a huge fan of the whole idea of the cosmic side of Marvel and DC. Now, when I became an adult, I was still kind of the same person, just give me my street level heroes, and that was really it. Now, I am a tad bit older now, and I'm kind of like, you know what? Let me go ahead and begin to dive into the cosmic side for Marvel and DC. And so I kind of felt like the right starting point for us to begin our coverage over the cosmic side of Marvel Comics would be Fantastic Four, because they were the early day creation of Marvel Comics to kind of explore the cosmic side. And the reason why I'm saying that, because we're going to cover issue number 2 of Fantastic Four that gave us the first appearance of the Skrulls, kind of began our adventure of diving into the cosmic side of Marvel Comics. Now, of course, this comic was done by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and I kind of feel like this is a huge achievement for us. And the reason why, because I don't think I ever covered any comic that was really done by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby together. I have done comics that only Stan Lee has done with somebody else, and the same goes for Jack Kirby, but I don't think I ever covered a comic where it's these two guys coming together to tell us a story. But getting into the opening pages of the storyline, we kind of get the idea that there's something going on with the Fantastic Four, because we pick up with Ben Grimm in Texas. Now, guys, listen, I love Texas. I'm from Texas, but it's kind of weird to see only one member of the Fantastic Four in Texas. Now, for Ben Grimm, it's him right now in the middle of this body of water where he's going over to this tower. Now, technically to me, it kind of looks like an oil rig, but I could be wrong there. But this tower right now is in the body of water, and you have Ben Grimm go out of his way to make sure the tower falls apart in the body of water. Now, luckily for the humans who were inside the building or the tower, were able to escape, but they saw Ben Grimm destroy the tower. And so now it's kind of like, why would one member of the Fantastic Four go out of his way to do some property damage? And we don't even stop there, because we now have to jump over to Susan Storm. Now, at this point in time in Marvel Comics, she was called the Invisible Girl, not the Invisible Woman. But either way, you have her go into this jewelry store. And when she goes inside, she basically steals a jewel that's really expensive by grabbing it and turning invisible, and just disappears. Now, for the last 2 members of the Fantastic Four, you have the Human Torch go out of his way to melt down a statue that was just done. And then you have Reed Richards use his abilities to turn off the power across the entire city to cause a citywide blackout. And so it's kind of like, okay, why are the different members of the Fantastic Four doing these different types of things to the world? And so this kind of leads into our first appearance of the Skrulls. Now, here's the thing, because the Skrulls only have the ability to shapeshift. That's really it. And so when it comes to them trying to copy the powers of some members of the Fantastic Four, they have to use different types of gadgets to kind of help them be able to, copy the powers of the members of the Fantastic Four, like the Human Torch and the Thing. Now, with the Skrulls, they can shapeshift. They can change their form. So copying the powers of Mr. Fantastic, that was pretty easy. Now, when it came to the Invisible Girl, all they did is just shrink down in size. So technically, they did not go invisible at all. But it was the Skrulls pretending to be the members of the Fantastic Four and now framing them for different crimes. Now, we don't know why just yet, but we're going to learn here very soon. Now, for the Fantastic Four, they got word just like that, that technically they're now wanted by, well, the American Army, technically, I guess. But the Fantastic Four are on the run. They're staying at this cabin. Now, they're trying to figure out who in the world is trying to frame them. Now, around this time in Marvel Comics, the Fantastic Four are a brand new team. This is only their second issue. And so for Ben and Grimm, it's still him trying to get used to the idea of being the Thing. And so he begins to freak out because now he's already a monster, but now being framed as a true monster who's attacking other people or doing property damage. And so for Ben Grimm, he's kind of like a Hulk here. He wants to go on a rampage. He's allowing his anger to take over his body. Now, you do have the different members of the Fantastic Four try to calm him down. But again, they're wondering who in the world had framed them. Now, you do have the Fantastic Four go ahead and turn themselves in when their cabin does get surrounded by different soldiers of the American Army. Now, you do have these soldiers bring in the Fantastic Four. And when they do, they put each member of the Fantastic Four in a different room that was designed to kind of stop them from using their powers as a way to escape. Now, the problem is that the Fantastic Four, they can find different ways to escape with their abilities. And so after maybe an hour or two, you have each member of Fantastic Four being able to break out of their cells, regroup, and then escape. And so now they can focus on the idea of figuring out who in the world is trying to frame them. And so for our heroes, their main goal now is to set up a trap as a way to trick the Skrulls from coming out of hiding. And so for the Human Torch, he has a great idea here. Why don't I go out of my way to attack a rocket that's going to be launched into space very soon? But as I attack that rocket, they're going to believe that technically it's one of them pretending to be me. But in reality, it's just me being me. But they're going to bring me in and take me back to their base, believing I'm one of them. And Johnny Storm plans work out very well because you do have Johnny Storm attack the rocket, and right after doing that, you have the Skrulls pick him up, believing it's one of them pretending to be Johnny, and they take him right back over to their base. Except right when they do arrive back at their base, the one Skrull who was earlier pretending to be Johnny Storm, he walks into the room and he sees Johnny. He's kind of like, wait, why in the world is this guy here? Like, that's the real Johnny Storm. That's the real Human Torch right there. I was the guy who was pretending to be Johnny Storm. And so for Johnny, he does shoot out a flare gun. And so with that flare gun, it tells the rest of his team where he's currently at. And so you then have the rest of the Fantastic Four arrive to help out Johnny, starting off with the Thing. Now, the battle is very short-lived because once you do have the rest of the Fantastic Four arrive, you then have those heroes being able to take down the different members of the Skrulls. Now, you do have the Skrulls explain why they did what they did by technically saying that, listen, we are trying to invade the Earth, but we got word about the Fantastic Four, and so we knew we had to remove you guys as a way to be able to invade the Earth. Now, here's the catch though, because this is the early days of Marvel Comics, so there was a small amount of heroes in the early days of Marvel Comics. But on top of that, you have the Skrulls tell Reed that there is a whole fleet of spaceships right now out in space just waiting to invade the Earth, which technically means that they should be able to easily win the battle. And matter of fact, you have Reed say, if they do invade the Earth, we are going to lose. So technically, to me, it kind of means that the whole idea of the Skrulls pretending to be the Fantastic Four is, well, completely pointless. But you do have our heroes wondering what can they do to stop the fleet from invading the Earth. And Reed has a plan. They can now pretend to be the Skrulls and trick the Skrulls to not invade the Earth. And so you do have our heroes find the spaceship the Skrulls had used to arrive on Earth. Now, when they do find a spaceship, it looks like a regular water tower you find on top of a building. So of course, no one would notice that it's really a spaceship, a rocket. And so you do have our heroes get inside and fly into space, over to the command ship that belongs to the Skrulls. Now, when they do arrive, you have our heroes pretending to be the Skrulls, but still looking like themselves, but also telling the commander, like, hey, listen, we should not invade the Earth at all. Like, look at these pictures of what's down there. And it's just different creatures from different comics that Marvel was creating at that time in the early days of Marvel Comics. So for the commander of the Skrulls, he begins to freak out like, oh my God, these things look crazy, powerful, and wild. You know what? Let's go ahead and leave because there's no way that we'll be able to invade the Earth. Now, for our heroes, they tell the commander the reason why they have to stay on Earth is to kind of make sure there's no evidence left behind of the Skrulls on Earth for the humans to discover. Now, for our heroes, as they go back down to Earth, they do go through the same radiation belt that turned the heroes into the Fantastic Four. Now, for Ben Grimm, he hates the radiation so much because that same radiation, the same cosmic rays, whatever, turned him into the Thing. And so it's him kind of wondering what's going to happen when they go through the same radiation once again. Now, he does turn back to normal as they go back down to Earth, except when they do arrive back on Earth, they're once again confronted by the military. And you have the army say, like, hey, got to come in for the crimes that you had committed. Now, here's the thing, because they now had the Skrulls back at their old base, kind of like, hey, listen, at our base right now, we have the Skrulls. These aliens are the reason why y'all were left to believe that we were the ones committing all these different crimes. Now, for Ben Grimm, he just noticed that he had turned into a human again, but unfortunately, it only lasts for a few seconds. And once again, he was turned back into the Thing form. So now we're able to close on this story because once you do have our heroes arrive back at the base of the Skrulls where they left them at, you had the Skrulls use their ability to shapeshift as a way to fight against the Fantastic Four. Now, one of the Skrulls is able to escape and most likely will warn the rest of the Skrulls what really went down on Earth. But the other three, they are once again captured by the Fantastic Four. And with the Skrulls being captured, you have the army realize, you know what, you guys are innocent. Sorry for all the things we're doing to you guys because honestly we believed that you guys are out there committing crimes. Now, once you do have the Fantastic Four clear their name, you then have Reed Richards being able to hypnotize the Skrulls into believing that they are cows. And so now these Skrulls are left on a farm believing that they are cows. And the book ends on that weird note right there. But yes, this was the first appearance of the Skrulls ever in Marvel Comics.